All right, Jason, now that you're all warmed up, we're going to hit you with 3 in the key with Jason Hickman.
And since I'm cool like that, I'm going to do question number 1 to you, Jason Hickman, which is, who is in the driver's seat for the national title coming off one of the biggest weekends of the high school basketball season?
Yeah, no question, Chris. I think you have to point to the top 2 teams in the rankings, both undefeated. Number 1, Mater Dei. What a story that would be if they were able to win the national title. Head coach Gary McKnight has done just about everything you can possibly do as a head coach at the high school level, closing in on 1,000 wins, 10 state titles, but somehow with all that success and all those victories has never won a national title. So huge opportunity for the Monarchs ahead, but they're going to have some tough challenges in the coming weeks, including number 19 Whitney Young in a little bit over a week at the Nike Extravaganza. Then you look at Rainier Beach, and they're a little bit of a controversial focal point in the rankings right now. Some say, hey, they haven't played the schedule that some of the other national powers have, but the Vikings can only really play what's ahead of them. And by WIA rules in the state of Washington, they can only play 20 regular season games, and 15 of those are devoted to their league schedule in the highly competitive Metro League. So they went down to the Les Schwab Invitational in Oregon in December, took care of business, had one of the signature victories of the high school season so far, beating Bishop Gorman in the final there by almost 30 points. And then it came off and registered another very nice win at the Spalding Hoop Hall Classic on Saturday against Bishop O'Connell. And I kind of got the sense that some dismissed that victory, but Bishop O'Connell, as you see there, was coming off 2 huge victories in Washington Catholic Athletic Conference play over DeMatha and Paula Sixth, who are both nationally ranked. So I don't think it would be a stretch at all to say that Bishop O'Connell was coming into that contest as one of the hottest teams in the country. But coming down the stretch here, going to be a fascinating race. Mater Dei, Rainier Beach, and of course, with all the upsets and state playoffs ahead of us, those aren't the only 2 teams in the picture, but certainly they control their own destiny.
All right, and let's move on to question number 2 now. Now, Jason, I know you don't really consider yourself a scout, but let's talk about Ivan Rabb for a second. And in your opinion, where does he stack up nationally within the class of 2015?
Yeah, well, I'm not a scout. I don't consider myself an analyst, and I'm fortunate. I feel fortunate not to have the tough task of ranking players. We leave that up to our partners at 247 Sports. Obviously, guys like Jerry Meyer do a great job with that. With that said, in terms of the junior prospects that I've seen, Ivan Rabb has to be right at the top of that list. I mean, you're talking about an absolute prototype NBA power forward, 6'9", got to be in the 230-pound range. And, what I think people don't appreciate about him nationally is that he's very skilled. He's got a lot of post moves, and seeing him at the Tarkanian Classic in Las Vegas before Christmas, what I really liked about him most is I think he's figured out how to work within the team concept, and I think he's an absolute winner. Reports were glowing coming out of the MaxPreps MLK Classic there in Berkeley on Monday, and it's hard for me to imagine a guy with as much potential, upside, and as much talent at this time than Ivan Rabb. In terms of 2015 guys I've seen a lot of, I think Ben Simmons from Montverde Academy would be another that has to be right there near the top of the list.
Yeah, I got to see Ivan this week, and he was very impressive. He kind of reminded me of a young Chris Bosh-ish. He even has that look, that long, lean look, and if he was lefty, he would be a spitting image, I think. But let's get to question number 3, and this comes from Calvin in Orlando, Florida, and he asks, Orlando Christian Prep is 19-0 and ranked 3rd in the state of Florida. Why are they not nationally ranked?
Yeah, Calvin, that's a great question, and it's a tough one for me to answer because typically I'm the guy that leans toward teams that take undefeated records late into the season, as Orlando Christian Prep has. But the bottom line with those guys is it's very difficult to stack up where they measure against some of the other nation's elite teams because they haven't played a nationally ranked team all season. And so it just leaves a little bit of mystery. I wish I have seen them play to get that eye test a little bit. Here you're seeing some pictures of Orlando Christian Prep from last year. But in or out of the top 25, Orlando Christian Prep is a great story. Kind of live in the shadows of Montverde Academy there in the Orlando area a little bit. But they've got a phenomenal little point guard by the name of Damon Harge Jr., who is only an 8th grader this year, 5'8", 110 pounds, was profiled in the Orlando Sentinel recently, and he is certainly a name to watch in the future. And for those wondering, you are allowed to play varsity high school basketball in the state of Florida as an 8th grader. We saw the same thing with Brandon Knight when he was coming out of Pinecrest 6-7 years back.